Scotland is a land of breathtaking contrasts, a place where the very earth seems to tell a story. Its landscape is a character in its own right, a force that has shaped the people who call it home for millennia. To the south you find the rolling hills and gentle lowlands, fertile ground that has sustained communities for generations. But as you travel north, the land rises dramatically. It becomes wilder, more challenging. The Highlands are a realm of towering mountains, their peaks often shrouded in mist, and deep, mysterious lochs that hold their secrets close. This is a place that demands respect, a landscape that is both beautiful and unforgiving. The long and jagged coastline tells another part of the story. It is a frontier, a place where the land meets the relentless power of the North Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. For centuries, this coast has been a gateway to the wider world, a launch pad for fishermen, traders and explorers. It is a place of countless islands, from the windswept isles of the Hebrides to the ancient Viking strongholds of Orkney and Shetland. Each island has its own unique character, its own history carved by the sea and the sky. This constant dialogue between land and water has instilled a sense of resilience and adaptability in the Scottish people. This is not a gentle land. The weather here is a powerful, ever-present force. It can change in an instant, from brilliant sunshine to a driving rain that soaks you to the bone. The wind can howl down from the mountains with a raw, untamed energy. This challenging environment has forged a people who are tough, resourceful, and deeply connected to the natural world around them. They understand the seasons, they read the sky, and they have learned to live in harmony with a land that can be both a provider and a formidable adversary. It is a relationship built on a deep and abiding respect for the power of nature. The very soul of Scotland seems to be woven from this dramatic tapestry of mountain, loch and sea. It's a land that inspires poetry and song, a place that has fueled the imagination of its people for countless generations. The stories, the myths and the legends are not just tales, they are echoes of the landscape itself. The spirit of the nation is reflected in the rugged peaks, the deep glens and the ever-changing light. To understand Scotland, you must first understand its land, for it is the foundation upon which everything else has been built, the silent witness to every battle, every triumph and every sorrow. Long before the clans, the castles and the kings, Scotland was a land being slowly reborn from beneath a thick blanket of ice. As the great glaciers of the last ice age retreated, around 12,000 years ago, they left behind a scarred and sculpted landscape. It was into this new raw world that the very first people stepped. These were hunter-gatherers, small nomadic groups following the herds of reindeer and other game that moved into the emerging forests and grasslands. Their lives were a constant search for survival, a deep and intimate dance with the rhythms of the natural world. They left little behind, but the scattered flint tools they used are like whispers from a distant past. We can see more tangible evidence of these early settlers in the remarkable Neolithic period, which began around 4000 BC. This was a time of great change, as people began to settle down, to farm the land, and to build permanent communities. They erected incredible stone monuments that still stand today, defying the ages. Places like Skara Brae on Orkney, a wonderfully preserved prehistoric village, give us an intimate glimpse into their daily lives. We can see their stone beds, their hearths, and their storage cupboards. It shows us that these were not simple people, but sophisticated communities with a deep understanding of construction and a strong social structure. These early people also had a rich spiritual life, which they expressed through monumental architecture. They built great chambered cairns, which were tombs for their most important dead, but also served as powerful community centres. My show on Orkney is a prime example, a masterpiece of Neolithic engineering, its entrance perfectly aligned to catch the light of the midwinter sun. They also erected massive standing stones and stone circles like the Ring of Brodgar. Their purpose still debated, but undoubtedly linked to the seasons, the sun and the stars. These stones are a powerful testament to a people trying to make sense of their world and their place within the cosmos. The arrival of the Bronze Age, and later the Iron Age, brought new technologies and new ways of life. Metalworking allowed for better tools and more effective weapons, leading to changes in society and an increase in conflict. Hill forts began to appear across the landscape, defensive structures built on prominent peaks, suggesting a world that was becoming more territorial and dangerous. And it was during this Iron Age that we see the emergence of a truly unique Scottish structure, the Broch. These were massive dry stone towers, symbols of power and prestige, their exact function still a mystery, but their presence speaks of a confident and skilled people on the cusp of recorded history. As the Roman Empire's influence faded at the northern edge of Britain, Scotland was not a single, unified nation. Instead, it was a mosaic of different peoples and kingdoms. In the east were the Picts, a mysterious and artistic people known for the intricate symbols they carved onto stone. To the west, in what is now Argyll, were the Scoti, Gaelic speakers, who had migrated from Ireland and established the kingdom of Dalriata. In the southwest were the Britons of Strathclyde, and to the southeast the Angles of Northumbria. For centuries these groups fought, traded and intermarried, their cultures slowly blending together in a complex and often violent process. The concept of kingship was central to these early societies, but it was often a precarious position. A king's power was not absolute. It was built on his ability to lead in battle, to dispense justice, and to reward his followers with land and treasure. Loyalty was the currency of the realm. A strong king could unite disparate groups and expand his territory, but a weak king could quickly see his power crumble. It was through the efforts of powerful leaders, like the Scottish king Kenneth MacAlpin in the 9th century, that the foundations of a single kingdom, known as Alba, began to be laid, uniting the Picts and the Scots under one ruler. Alongside the kings, another powerful social structure dominated life in the Highlands, the clan system. The word clan comes from the Gaelic word for children, and that is what a clan was in essence, a large extended family. It was bound together by loyalty to a chief, who was seen as the head of the family. The clan provided protection, identity, and a sense of belonging in a harsh and often dangerous world. To be part of a clan was to know who you were and where you belonged. Your loyalty was to your chief and your kin above all else, a powerful bond that shaped the history of the Highlands for centuries. This system of clans and kings created a society that was both fiercely local and capable of uniting for a common cause. While clans might feud with their neighbours over cattle or land, they could also be called upon by their king to defend the realm against a foreign invader. This dual loyalty to both chief and king defined much of early Scottish history. It was a dynamic and often turbulent society, one where personal honour, martial prowess and kinship were the most important values. This complex web of loyalties would be tested time and again in the centuries to come, especially when the threat of a powerful southern neighbour loomed large. The late 13th century marked a critical turning point in Scotland's story. The death of King Alexander III in 1286, followed by the tragic death of his young heir, Margaret, the Maid of Norway, plunged the kingdom into a crisis. With no clear successor, several powerful nobles vied for the throne. King Edward I of England, a ruthless and ambitious monarch known as the Hammer of the Scots, saw his chance. He stepped in as an arbitrator, but his true goal was to assert his own overlordship over Scotland. He chose John Balliol as the new king, but treated him as a puppet, undermining his authority and demanding his allegiance. This English interference ignited the fires of resistance. The first great hero to emerge was William Wallace, a man of lesser nobility, who became the figurehead of a popular uprising. He was not a king or a great lord, but a patriot who fought for the freedom of his country. His victory against a much larger English army at the Battle of Stirling Bridge in 1297 was a stunning achievement. It showed that the mighty English war machine could be beaten. Wallace's tactics, using the landscape to his advantage, became legendary. Though he was eventually captured and brutally executed in London, his spirit of defiance lived on and inspired countless others to continue the fight. After Wallace's death, the mantle of leadership passed to Robert the Bruce, a nobleman who had once competed for the crown. In 1306, he had himself crowned King of Scots and renewed the war for independence. His early years as king were incredibly difficult. He was a fugitive, hunted by his enemies, both English and Scottish. But Bruce was a brilliant military strategist and a determined leader. He waged a long and grueling guerrilla war, slowly winning back control of his kingdom, castle by castle. He understood the importance of winning the hearts and minds of the people, uniting the nation behind his cause for freedom from English rule. The struggle culminated in 1314 at the Battle of Bannockburn. Here, Robert the Bruce's smaller Scottish army faced a massive English force led by King Edward II. Against all odds, the Scots won a decisive and resounding victory. It was a triumph that effectively secured Scotland's independence for the next 400 years. Bannockburn was more than just a battle. It became a cornerstone of Scottish national identity. It was proof that a smaller nation, through courage, clever leadership, and an unbreakable will to be free, could defeat a powerful oppressor. The legacy of Wallace and Bruce and the struggle they led is etched deep into the soul of Scotland. Scotland's landscape is dotted with castles. Their stone walls, silent witnesses to centuries of history, conflict and intrigue. Each one tells a story. Edinburgh Castle is perhaps the most famous, perched dramatically on a volcanic rock, dominating the city's skyline. It has been a royal residence, a military fortress and a state prison. Its history is the history of Scotland in miniature, from the ancient kings who first fortified the rock to the soldiers who garrisoned it through centuries of war. To walk its ramparts is to walk in the footsteps of kings, queens, soldiers and prisoners who shaped the nation's destiny. Another fortress that holds a pivotal place in the nation's heart is Stirling Castle. Known as the Key to Scotland, its strategic location guarding the lowest crossing point of the River Forth meant that whoever held Stirling held the kingdom. It was a favoured royal residence of the Stuart monarchs, a place of grand courts and Renaissance splendour. But it was also the prize in many of the country's most important conflicts. The battles of Stirling Bridge and Bannockburn were fought within its shadow, highlighting its immense strategic importance. The castle's great halls and fortified walls echo with the power struggles that defined medieval and Renaissance Scotland. The battlefields themselves are sacred ground, open-air monuments to the courage and sacrifice of those who fought there. Culloden, near Inverness, is one of the most poignant and sombre places in all of Scotland. It was here in 1746 that the final Jacobite rising was brutally crushed. The battle was swift and bloody, ending the hopes of Prince Charles Edward Stuart, Bonnie Prince Charlie, of reclaiming the throne for his family. Today the field is a memorial with clan stones marking the mass graves of the Highlanders who fell. To walk this windswept moor is a powerful and moving experience, a reminder of the tragic cost of civil war. These historic sites are more than just tourist attractions. They are the physical anchors of Scotland's national memory. They connect the present day to the pivotal moments of the past. Standing on the battlefield of Bannockburn, you can almost hear the clash of steel and the roar of the Scottish army as it secured its freedom. Exploring the ruins of a lonely castle on a windswept coast, you can imagine the lives of the clan chiefs who ruled there. These stones and fields are not dead relics, they are living parts of Scotland's story, continuing to shape the identity and imagination of the people today. Scottish culture is a rich and vibrant tapestry, woven from threads of music, language and ancient traditions that have been passed down through generations. The sound of the Great Highland Bagpipe is, for many, the sound of Scotland itself. It's an instrument of immense power and emotion, capable of expressing the joy of a celebration, the sorrow of a lament, and the fierce courage of a call to battle. The pipes have been a part of Scottish life for centuries, their haunting melodies echoing across the glens and battlefields, a constant companion to the Scottish people through times of both peace and turmoil. The kilt is another powerful symbol, instantly recognizable around the world. While the modern kilt is a more recent development, the tradition of wearing belted plaids of tartan cloth is much older. Tartan, with its distinctive patterns of crisscrossing lines, came to be associated with specific clans. It was more than just clothing, it was a statement of identity and allegiance, a visual representation of kinship and belonging. Banned for a time after the Battle of Culloden, in an attempt to suppress Highland culture, the kilt was later revived and embraced as a proud symbol of national identity for all Scots, not just Highlanders. Food and drink are also central to the cultural experience. Scotland is famous for its whisky, a spirit that is as much a part of the landscape as the mountains and rocks. Each distillery produces a unique flavour, shaped by the local water, the peat used to dry the barley, and the skill of the master distiller. It's a craft honed over centuries. And of course there is the haggis, Scotland's national dish. Made from humble ingredients but celebrated with great ceremony, especially on Burns Night, it represents the resourcefulness and spirit of the Scottish people, turning simple fare into a source of national pride. These cultural expressions are kept alive through gatherings and festivals. The Highland Games, held throughout the summer, are a spectacular showcase of traditional sport, music and dance. Events like tossing the caber and the hammer throw demonstrate incredible feats of strength, harking back to the skills required of ancient warriors. Tailits, social gatherings filled with traditional folk music and dancing, bring communities together in a joyous celebration of their shared heritage. These traditions are not relics of the past, they are a living, breathing part of modern Scottish life, connecting the present generation to their deep and enduring roots. The year 1603 marked a peaceful but profound change in Scotland's destiny. When Queen Elizabeth I of England died without an heir, the English throne passed to her closest relative, King James VI of Scotland. He travelled south to London and became King James I of England, uniting the crowns of the two rival nations in a personal union. For the first time, Scotland and England shared a monarch. However, this was not a political union. Scotland remained an independent kingdom with its own parliament, its own laws, and its own distinct church. The two nations were separate entities, now linked only by the king who ruled them both. This new arrangement was often fraught with tension. The Stuart kings, particularly James's son, Charles I, believed in the divine right of kings and sought to impose their will on both kingdoms, especially in matters of religion. Charles I's attempt to force a new Anglican-style prayer book on the fiercely Presbyterian Church of Scotland led to widespread outrage and rebellion. The Scots signed the National Covenant, a document pledging to defend their form of worship, an act of defiance that helped trigger the Wars of the Three Kingdoms, a brutal civil war that engulfed Scotland, England and Ireland. The final act of this long and complex relationship came in 1707 with the Acts of Union. By this time, Scotland was facing severe economic difficulties, partly due to a disastrous colonial venture in Panama known as the Darien Scheme. The English, meanwhile, were concerned about the possibility of Scotland choosing a different monarch in the future, potentially reviving the old alliance with France. After much heated debate, political manoeuvring and some outright bribery, the Scottish Parliament voted to dissolve itself and create a new single state, the Kingdom of Great Britain. Scotland retained its own legal and education systems, but lost its political independence. This union was deeply controversial and remains a subject of debate to this day. For some, it was a pragmatic decision that brought economic stability and access to a growing global empire. For others, it was a betrayal, the end of a long and proud history as an independent nation. This division of opinion was starkly illustrated by the Jacobite risings of the 18th century, a series of rebellions aimed at restoring the exiled Stuart dynasty to the throne. These risings were a passionate and ultimately tragic attempt to undo the Union and reclaim a lost independence, a struggle that would end in blood and tears on the field of Culloden. In the 18th century, despite the political turmoil of the Union and the Jacobite risings, Scotland entered a period of extraordinary intellectual and cultural flourishing known as the Scottish Enlightenment. In the coffee houses and university halls of Edinburgh, a city that became known as the Athens of the North, a remarkable group of thinkers gathered. Philosophers like David Hume and Adam Smith challenged conventional wisdom and laid the foundations for modern economics and philosophy. Their ideas about reason, liberty and human nature had a profound impact not just on Britain, but on the entire Western world, influencing the founding fathers of the United States. This explosion of intellectual energy was not confined to philosophy. Great advances were made in science, medicine and engineering. James Hutton revolutionized our understanding of the planet's age with his theories on geology, while Joseph Black's work on chemistry was groundbreaking. The University of Edinburgh's medical school became one of the most prestigious in the world. This was an age of discovery and innovation, driven by a belief in progress and the power of human reason. The Scottish Enlightenment demonstrated that a small nation could produce ideas that would change the world, establishing a legacy of academic excellence and critical inquiry. Following this intellectual revolution came an industrial one. Scotland, particularly the central belt between Glasgow and Edinburgh, became a powerhouse of the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century. The nation's rich deposits of coal and iron ore fueled the furnaces of heavy industry. Glasgow became the second city of the empire, a world leader in shipbuilding, locomotive manufacturing and engineering. The clang of hammers on steel in the shipyards along the River Clyde echoed around the globe as countless ships were built and launched, connecting the British Empire and driving international trade. This rapid industrialization brought immense wealth to some, but it also came at a great social cost. It transformed Scottish society, drawing huge numbers of people from the rural Highlands and from Ireland into overcrowded and often squalid conditions in the rapidly growing cities. Life for the working class was incredibly hard, marked by long hours, dangerous working conditions and poor housing. This period created a new urban landscape and a new set of social challenges. The stark contrast between the wealth of the industrialists and the poverty of the workers would shape Scottish politics for the next century, fostering a strong tradition of socialism and trade unionism. The story of Scotland is a long and complex one, filled with conflict, innovation, and an enduring spirit of resilience. This rich history is not just something to be read about in books, it is a living force that continues to shape the identity of the Scottish people today. The fierce desire for independence, forged in the wars against Edward I, can still be seen in the passionate political debates about Scotland's place in the United Kingdom and the world. The legacy of Wallace and Bruce is not just a historical memory, it is a symbol of a nation's determination to control its own destiny, a sentiment that resonates powerfully in the 21st century. The cultural traditions that have survived for centuries remain a vibrant part of modern life. The sound of the bagpipes, the sight of the kilt and the warmth of a ceilidh are not just for tourists, they are expressions of a unique and cherished identity. The legacy of the Scottish Enlightenment lives on in the country's world-class universities and its contributions to science and the arts. This blend of ancient tradition and forward-thinking innovation is at the heart of the modern Scottish character. It is a nation that is deeply proud of its past, but is not constrained by it, always looking for new ideas and new ways to make its mark on the world. The landscape itself remains a fundamental part of the national psyche. The mountains, lochs and islands are not just a beautiful backdrop, they are a source of inspiration, a place for recreation and a powerful symbol of Scottish identity. The deep connection to the land, first established by those hunter-gatherers thousands of years ago, endures. There is a sense that the ruggedness and beauty of the natural world are reflected in the character of the people, tough, resourceful, and with a touch of wildness and poetry in their souls. This enduring bond between people and place is a constant throughout Scotland's long history. Today, in the year 2025, Scotland stands as a nation that is constantly negotiating its relationship with its own past and its future. The debates over independence, the preservation of its distinct culture and its role on the global stage are all informed by the journey it has taken. From the first settlers on its shores to the great thinkers of the Enlightenment and the industrial workers of Glasgow, Each generation has added a new thread to Scotland's rich tapestry. The story is far from over, but it is a story that has been carved in stone, sung in ballads and carried in the hearts of its people for millennia.